Okay, I'm Thomas Hawkins with the Successful Practices Network and the National Dropout Prevention Center. And I've just gotten back from the Future Focused Schools Conference. And I wanted to sit down and give just a quick overview of the session I gave Monday and Wednesday. It was Practical AI Tools for Educators, with sort of a greater focus being how do you take this back and get your team involved? How do you go beyond that first, dipping your toe in the water and getting someone comfortable with using AI to building capacity for AI within your school building or your district system? I sort of opened up and showed people how I frame up the question when I get to go sit down with groups, and talked a lot about, hallucination and defining why you shouldn't view AI as such a binary thing with right and wrong, because that's where we lose so many educators early on. They go in, they put something in, they get back what they see as something that's naturally incorrect or bogus, and then we end up with them refusing to ever really play with it again because they recognize it's going to be this massive time investment, and they already have so many priorities and so many other investments that they don't have time to sit and play with something. But I talk a little bit about how to strategize and get people to use it early on, fun things. I talk a little bit about generative models and some of our consultants that have used it with professional development, icebreakers, and other easy ways to start dipping your toes in the water. The second big topic I sort of covered was I did a deep dive on large language models and really focused in on what I see are strengths, especially at a building level. I focused mostly on Claude. I built out a massive project with everyone. We followed through and built a multi-discipline 8th grade project on power consumption and had Claude differentiate it. We had it talk about localization, individualization, and it brought down this project to both a group and personal level, built out homework across a 6-day project. And then I took that project and we took all the things that Claude gave us, and I jumped to my final point, and I talked about automation and the fact that I think if teachers really want to earn back that extra bit of time, Dr. Daggett always tells us he sees AI as this big 80-20, and it's not always 80-20, but a lot of times it can be around there. It does 80% of the work, but you need to do 20% of that skilled work. I showcased where to get that time back to explore, we need teachers who are all highly educated and more than capable of doing it start automating part of their classroom work with AI, whether that's automating grade books to an extent, whether that's automating, inter-school communications, building level leaders. I really stressed some efficiencies that I had seen from schools that were adopting these AI tools, and then also to a great degree, we have to prepare for them to be built into the existing systems we already use. Google Classrooms has come a long way in the last 6 months, and I expect the same of Blackboard and Moodle from what I've been looking at. I wrapped up the presentation with just a little bit of AI policy talk and just a touch on ethics, partly to try and convince people to come to my ethics presentation the next day, because it's hard to show people how I personally have pumped the brakes on my AI usage and what data I put up in AI when I'm getting so excited talking about all the efficiencies and time you can win back and everything else. So I still think that's just such an important consideration, no matter what topic I'm talking about in EdTech, that we really have to tackle. Just for my personal notes and processing this out, one of the biggest takeaways I got from that presentation were the discussions I had afterwards. Every time I've gotten the pleasure of presenting AI-based topics in education for the Successful Practices Network, I get to grow so much just because I get to sit and speak to educators that are in the classroom and working on it. And I was a bit worried that with the pace of this conference that I wouldn't get the time to sit back, but I was pleasantly surprised that probably for 30-45 minutes after my presentation, I get to sit and talk to people about where they're at, have group discussions, and really break down what teachers needed. And I was excited that my biggest piece of feedback was the fact that you are able to sit and focus on how this can help teachers, building at level administrators, and district level administrators at all times, and bring everyone to the table at once. It was the first time I've had a conversation where I really had that stratification of what we have in education. So many times I'm either just talking to district level leadership, or I'm only talking to directors of innovation and directors of technology, or I'm just talking to building level people and practitioners that are out there using it. And I never get to see that dichotomy of views when I ask a question or ask where people are at. I'm really getting a better and better mix as we move forward. And so that's a quick breakdown of what I got to talk about at the Future Focus School Conference for my presentation on AI and practical tools for classroom use, and really ended up focusing more on, once I was there and started talking about it, how to get teams bought in, whether it's peers, whether it's a building level, or even district leadership. How do we get people to buy in and start utilizing AI and start making those discoveries? Because as much as I get to play with it, I'm not actively in a classroom setting right now. I'm not actively in a district setting. I get to stop by, I get to talk to people, get to circle back with teams, but what I really get to learn from are the other educators I'm sitting there talking to at conferences like the Future Focus Schools Conference and building visits. So I want to thank everybody that came out to my session. And thank you to those of you that sat afterwards and talked to me for a while, both sessions, both Monday and Wednesday. Your feedback is absolutely invaluable.